Name a time you had to deal with a conflict.
I noticed one of the developers was increasingly late to meetings and always had a defensive attitude. I decided to speak to him to encourage him to arrive on time. In the discussion, I realized he had overburdened tasks while others had less work. I apologized and reallocated the tasks. The mood improved, and he arrived at meetings on time as he didn't feel overwhelmed with work. The experience taught me the importance of listening to other parties.
I once had to work with a colleague who was in the habit of mispronouncing my name. After correcting them the first time, they insisted I was overreacting and made no effort to change. As my frustration grew, I approached our manager, who offered to issue them a warning. I felt this slightly affected my relationship with other colleagues, so I decided to speak with the colleague one last time. I explained the cultural significance of my name and why it was important to me. The conversation seemed to help them understand, and they immediately made an effort to change.
My boss assigned me to a team working on a migration project. One of my colleagues in the team frequently talked over me during brainstorming sessions and dismissed some of my ideas as inexperienced. Feeling frustrated, I reached out to the team lead, who advised me to speak to the associate about how their behavior affected me. So I did, and the colleague apologized. We immediately developed a healthy working relationship and have been friends to date. The experience taught me that communication can resolve most conflicts.
Here are some steps you can follow when answering the question, "Tell me about a time you had a conflict at work." Describe the situation. The first step to answering this question is to describe the situation preceding the conflict. Describing the situation can help the interviewer understand the context, which can help them appreciate your answer. When describing the situation, start with the task that led to the dispute. It's important you mention who you had a conflict with and their role in relation to yours. For example, the person may be a colleague, contractor, client, or supervisor. Including this detail can help the interviewer understand the circumstances and why you chose your approach. Provide details about the conflict. Details include the specific nature of the conflict and why it arose. For example, you may have a conflict with a coworker if they refuse to turn in their work when due. Remember to be honest with your analysis so the interviewer doesn't view you as having a bias. The best approach is to highlight ways you may have avoided the conflict in the first place or how your actions contributed to the person's defensiveness. Discuss your approach. The next step is to discuss how you approached and solved the issue. You can walk the interviewer through your thought process at the time and any steps you took to understand the conflict. For example, you can mention that you spoke to a coworker or supervisor for advice. Highlighting your emotions during the period can make your answer sound more genuine. You might mention that you felt anger or frustration at the person's reaction. Doing this can help the manager respect your composure and professionalism. It's essential you highlight the soft skills you used during the period. You may highlight that you were patient or used your interpersonal skills to reconcile with the person and become their friend. If the conflict was with a customer, you could highlight your customer service skills as instrumental in resolving the dispute. Highlight the results. Next, you should emphasize how you resolved the conflict amicably. If your conflict management led to impressive work results, you can mention that. For example, you can talk about how resolving a conflict with a colleague who felt overburdened led to developing a work-sharing system that improved efficiency. It can also be that resolving the conflict allowed you to meet a deadline you may have missed. Discussing these results makes your answer more impressive to the hiring manager. To follow more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.